Bad ideas get pulverized, and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento, an activist street fighter with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. Listen and watch every weekday at 2 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and TrentoVision.com. Now, let's take a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Well, here's what I would like everyone to do today. After the show, not right now, after the show, I'd like you to go to your corner drugstore, Walmart or Walgreens or CVS or Publix, one of those places. Go in the pharmacy section. And when you're there, I want you to buy a bottle of vitamins. One-a-day vitamins, fish oil vitamins, bird oil vitamins, whatever kind of vitamins you want to buy. But I want you to buy a bottle that only holds 30 pills. Just 30. Don't buy the big supersized ones. Go buy a little bottle that holds 30 pills. And starting today, I want you to take one of those vitamins. Now you're listening to WNN, Health and Wealth News Network. And a lot of these shows are vitamin-oriented. You're going, what the heck is Trento talking about? He does national security and he beats up Obama. Why does he want us eating vitamins? I want you to buy a bottle of 30 vitamins. I want you to take one every day. And I want you to watch the days disappear. And as the bottle decreases in vitamins, we're getting ever so close to the end of the vitamins, and that unique day 30 days from today, actually 29, which will be a day that will go down in history, November 6th, 2012. It's 29 days away from today. It's about the 30th day from today, folks. I want you to look at the vitamins going down and compare the amount of work that you are contributing to save America, Israel, and the West, Western civilization, in the dissipation of those vitamins in that bottle. You see, last week on October 3rd, Mitt Romney busted open the door for the grassroots, regular people like you and me to run through, work hard over the next 30 days, and wrest control of the republic from the hands of the chief executive ideologue. As you know, if you've been listening to the show, we've made a comparison between Mitt Romney as a chief executive officer, which you saw very clearly in that debate, and the chief executive ideologue, somebody whose objective is to decrease the economic capability of this great country. President Obama's objective is to decrease the military capability. Because if you could make America, which he views as an anti-colonialist country, if you can make America weaker so that it can't project its economic and military vitality capability, then you'll have a safer world. So goes the ideological leftist thinking. Well, my guest today is going to prove that completely false. Go buy those vitamins. But they're a reminder to you, besides the fact they actually may help you with the fish oil and all of that, they're a reminder to you that once that day is gone, we can't work today for how we should have worked yesterday. Everybody needs to get involved. Our show on Friday was how you can get involved here in Florida. We have become the definitive, most important state in the union and the most important election in our lives. 30 days from today. I can't stress that enough, folks. And if you know our show, we've been talking a lot about the lazy Christians that are out there that simply won't get up and go vote, won't get registered. Today's the last day of registration, by the way. Did you know that, my secret guest? No. Today's the last day in Florida. You have to be registered by midnight tonight, or you can't vote on November 6th. Now, if you fall into that category where you screwed up and you can't vote, you could still work, and we need you to work. So contact Tom at TrentoVision.tv. We'll put you in touch with one of the 20 offices in the state that are looking for volunteers to mobilize people for the GOTV. Get out the vote. Thank you, folks, for joining. Once again, it's been a fascinating weekend. But a little bit of housekeeping. We're broadcasting on WNN 1470 on the AM dial. If you look on your radio, if you're driving in your car, 6 buttons. Go down to the right-hand side, or if you have the old type, you have to turn. 1470, we're on the right-hand side. You can listen that way. Or if you want to be really hip, you can take your iPhone, your iPad, your computer, go to Trento Vision, like television, but this is my view of the world, my vision of the world, TrentoVision.tv. You can watch, that's right, you can watch a radio show. You can watch it happening right here. Or if you get that little iHeartRadio application, if you go to our website, TrentoVision.tv, we have all of this listed. You can play iHeartRadio, beautiful, crystal clear digital sound. We're repeated. This show's repeated tonight, 8 to 9 o'clock. And the video portion of our show is archived on TrentoVision.tv. You can watch it anytime you want. It takes about an hour after the show to be up and running. Be sure to watch our good friends Brian and Steve Kane, Brian Craig, 6 to 9 WNN in the mornings. They're beating the hell out of Obama from 6 to 9. We pick up 2 o'clock, and our view simply is, the office of president is a sacred office in many respects. This person has disgraced it, in our opinion. And the facts. And you'll see today's show, which is centered on the national security concerns of the United States as it relates to a little country out in the middle of nowhere called Israel. And we have an expert today to deal with some of that. But we will take calls. So if you'd like to speak to myself or my mystery guest, you can call at 888, that means it's free, 888-565-1470. CJ will take your call, and if you're completely crazy and insane, we put you through first, okay? We're looking for we prefer those who disagree with us because we pulverize those ideas here, but very nicely. We're nice guys here. I got to see this time clock. Stretch it out there. Oh, there we go. So today I have with me my good friend and a fellow warrior who has some fascinating stuff, and we're kind of going rogue today. We don't have all our fancy J. Mark Campbell pre-production. So we're going to show you some stuff like pulling it out of a hat and holding it in front of the camera instead of this slick bringing it up as we used to do. But we'll have a lot of fun and get some stuff done. Can we go to a 2-shot? Bring in Mark, please. This is Mark coming in slowly now. Mark Langfan, Langfan, Langfan. Who is Mark Langfan? You'll know who he is. And some of you already know who he is. After this uninterrupted hour, no commercials, by the way, thanks to some folks who've helped us out with that. Mark, there you are, coming into the picture. Welcome to Trento Vision, my brother. How are you?
Oh, Tom, God bless you. It's beautiful to be here.
I'm glad you came. You live out of state.
Yes.
You were in town visiting, and we were going to try to get together for coffee, and you're on the show. How's that?
Is that the wonder of modern technology?
Yes, it is. Tell the folks a little bit about what you do, how you pay the bills, and then where your heart lies with your work.
Well, I pay the bills.
You have to get a little closer to the mic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I pay the bills by being a real estate attorney in a real estate company. That really has nothing to do with any of this Israel stuff. And so really everything I do...
You do all the Israel stuff on the side, basically.
I do all the Israel stuff on the side out of my own pocket. So everything you see, all the graphics, everything either came out of my pocket or my fantastic dad's generosity as well. So it's really, it's all just my blood, sweat, and tears and my dad's blood, sweat, and tears. And so what I've done was about 25 years ago, I realized that the key element to understanding what the Arab-Israeli conflict was about was understanding that there were mountains in the West Bank. Because once you understand there are mountains in the West Bank, all of a sudden the West Bank doesn't become sort of just the West Bank of a river. It actually becomes a mountain range that you can understand. And so my odyssey really started there. And I started showing people and giving people briefings with just the map. And slowly but surely I built up my information base. And I realized that people just didn't know there were mountains in the West Bank. They didn't even really know where Israel was. They had no idea
and
where Israel
Jewish
was.
people, I mean, you're
Jewish
about, yeah.
people, congressmen, even senators, you name it, they just didn't know where Israel was, in that they sort of knew Israel was in the Middle East, but they really didn't know what was around Israel. And the core issue is understanding what's around Israel, because once you understand what's around Israel, all of a sudden the entire debate as to Israel's strategic importance to the United States or strategic liability to the United States becomes very clear, not from me being Jewish or wanting to be a Zionist or anything like that. It becomes clear that if Israel were not there, what America would face would be a caliphate.
All right, now this
So
that's
sort of jumping ahead.
All right, we're gonna go piece by piece, and the title of this show, folks, is the geographic, strategic, national security significance for America, for the West. That sounds a little heady, but it's really fascinating stuff. And Mark is humbly stating some of what he does, but he makes these phenomenal maps. You'll see some of them in 3-color and bas relief. Oh, what a relief it is to see that map. Okay, I got it in, Joe. And he does this as a passion for communicating and educating people. When you see these maps, and you can go to his site. In fact, you can make our window small and go to marklangfan.com.
Exactly.
Right? marklangfan.com. While you're looking at the show, and as we're talking, you can look at some of his many maps there. And we're going to show a couple on this show shortly. All right, so 25 years ago, you said, hey, a mountain range, let me see. Alexander the Great thought it was a great military advantage. Hannibal, every military analyst and warrior ever on the face of the earth said, it's good to be above your enemy so you can fight them downhill and they have to fight uphill.
Exactly.
So where did it go from there? What do you do? What are we doing today?
What we're doing today is I've slowly expanded my repertoire to not only include Israel and its strategic value in the immediate area, but I as well have delved into the entire Iranian nuclear bomb situation, and I've extensively studied that entire problem as well.
Okay, let's go first. Let's go over the weekend. The weekend reports, and we have a good friend, Mark Kohlberg, who many who follow the United West know. Our team, about 10 of us in February, were the guests of Mark Kohlberg. He has 2 trips a year. You need to go on one of his trips. And we went. It was an intelligence briefing with the IDF, with the border police, and with the national police, behind the scenes into some very fascinating places. And then he's going in December, in fact, and we'll try to get a group together to go with him in December again. But he stays in touch with us every day, and he's been reporting on 30 or 40 missiles from Gaza coming over, landing on today's a special day, right, in the Jewish world?
It's Shmini Atzeres. It's a religious holiday.
And some of these missiles were designed to break things up, in Israel. And then what happened with this drone thing? What was that all about?
The drone thing, basically a drone came in over from the Mediterranean, flew over Gaza, and then flew into the Negev, and started just sort of hovering around and actually vectoring towards Dimona, which holds Israel's nuclear, or one of Israel's nuclear facilities. And what happened was it wasn't shot down immediately, because what the Israelis were trying to do was to try to basically take over the drone by electrically sending signals that they tried to hack into the drone. And so that's why they didn't shoot it down immediately. They were trying to get the drone as a whole and land it safely. And so there was some type of hacking war going on where Israel was trying to hack into the drone, and it went back and forth, and Israel could not break into it, apparently. And so it then was, as I said, vectoring relatively in the direction of Dimona, and they just decided to off it.
All right, now, if you have not seen the video, it's a fascinating video, folks. You can pull it up on Israel unmanned flying object, drone, over Gaza, then going south into the desert area, and then to the nuclear plant down there. It's a nuclear plant?
I don't know if it's a nuclear plant. It's definitely a nuclear...
development facility.
It's a nuclear power plant. It's a relatively small power plant.
Let's speculate for a second here, because people think, oh, you're not supposed to speculate. The intelligence community lives on speculation. You've got to throw scenarios out to figure out what makes sense, what doesn't. I'm sure as they were trying to gain electronic control of the drone, I'm sure they were also setting up their communications capability on the SIGNET side to listen in to whatever was being said about that by whomever the bad guys were. And who do you think the bad guys? I mean, it's obvious they think it went through Hezbollah from Iran and has launched it. Does that make sense?
I think that's a fair assumption.
Who else could do that? I mean,
I think it was a sophisticated. It's clearly a sophisticated drone if Israel can't hack into it. So, I think that's the most likely scenario. But really, if we can actually just show people on the map,
great idea.
I will show people, in fact, everything that we've just talked about. Meaning, number one, we'll talk about the missiles that came from Gaza. Number two, we'll talk about where the drone entered and what vector it took, and we'll show the whole. We'll show people the old school 3D topographic map of Israel.
All right, now we can try the big one. I know we can get it there. Do you have a smaller one that we can use that we can zoom in on?
You mean the this graphic?
Yeah, which one? That would be pretty good to go into that one. What do you think?
Okay, well, sure.
You got a clean one?
He should be able to zoom in on this.
That one should, yeah. Let's put this right in front of here. See if it can stand up. If it stays. Yeah, put something. There we go. All right, we are. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you might go in on that. We should be able to get in on that pretty good. If not, we'll pull out the big one. But when we put the big one up, then you can't see Mark's handsome face. That's the problem.
So, just to give everybody an idea, this is a graphic.
How's that, Mark? Can you see on your iPad?
I can't see it on my iPad. If you can see it, that's fine. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Okay.
Now, there's a delay.
If you can bring it out a little bit so that the screen sort of fills this whole gig over here.
Now, what we're doing, let me explain for the radio folks, okay? Because we got two sets of people. We got radio people and people watching on Trento Vision. For you radio folks, you can listen carefully. Mark's going to describe. You have to paint the picture
Absolutely.
with your words. And we have one of Mark's printed 4-color maps, and our camera's zoomed in on it. And Mark is now going to show the geography, topography of Israel. We're going to discuss what happened over the weekend, then some of the concerns the Israeli government has, and then we'll get into the relations to the United States and Iran. All yours, Mark.
Okay, well, first let's really talk about what all these Katyushas are coming from the Gaza Strip. They're basically a simple mortar in that you have... it's really no different than a mortar. It goes 12 miles, some go a little bit further, some go 15 miles, others go a little bit less, but it's basically in a 12-mile radius. And they're fired from one at a time, generally, from a pipe, 122 millimeter pipe. So really what Israel
122 millimeters. What's the inches in diameter?
It's about 2.5.
2.5 inches or so, around like a big water pipe.
Oh, like a big. That's exactly it.
Okay.
It's that's actually the key part. Is it almost looks like a water pipe, in that it's been smuggled into, or a lot of these have been smuggled into, the Gaza Strip.
Okay.
Because that's, there's commerce going back and forth. It's not a demilitarized zone in the concept
so construction equipment comes in, and they make bombs out of that. Okay.
They make they make bombs out of the construction equipment.
Got it.
But it's not like in North Korea and South Korea, where the demilitarized zone has nobody living there. It's a zone where people come in and out, and they are smuggling high explosives, Katyusha rocket pieces, Katyusha rockets, and 122 millimeter pipes. Okay. And so what has been happening is they've been firing these mortars, essentially, from the Gaza Strip into the areas around the Gaza Strip. Now, the key is that most of the land around the Gaza Strip has very little population. Very little population. So a lot of these basically... Sorry.
Mark's getting phone calls in the middle of the show.
A lot of these rockets fall and don't kill anybody.
Okay.
It's almost like firing a mortar in North Dakota. You fire a mortar in North Dakota, most chances you're not going to hit anything.
Okay.
So that's why they've fired a large number of these, and they've relatively
40 of them over the weekend.
40 of them over the weekend. And they actually caused a lot of damage, but didn't kill anyone, thank goodness. The type of warhead that these things have is also variable.
You can look right at that camera. You can talk to those people there.
The type of warhead they have is also variable, in that some of the warheads are explosive, and they blow up like a normal explosive mortar. Others are so-called anti-personal warheads. And what these anti-personal warheads are is these little ball bearings. And when these mortars fall, the ball bearings fly out and basically shred anything in their path, including any cars or buildings or anything like that. So this is the kind of war that Israel has been fighting in the Gaza Strip. Now, the key problem in the entire universe of the peace, quote-unquote, peace process is that if Israel were to be forced, and this is exactly what President Obama outlined, is his exact plan, to force Israel to go back to the 1967 border, then the Palestinians will be able to fire the same type of rockets that they're firing now into what I call the Tel Aviv-Netanya corridor, which is sort of this little neck of Israel. Now, getting to really where we are, which is ground zero of your listeners, basically before the 1967 war, Israel was at this point in the border.
Well, describe that for the radio listeners.
The radio listener, it was basically a zone about 10 miles wide and about 40 miles long, where bordering on the west was the Mediterranean and bordering on the right was the Jordanian West Bank, because in 1967 it was Jordan. So there was only 10 miles between Jordan and the sea, or ability to cut Israel into two. Now, the key point is, a lot of times people will say, oh, Israel would get, because there's only 9 narrow miles between the 1967 border and the Mediterranean Ocean. So people use a lot of cliches, and they say, oh, well, Israel's going to be cut in half if ever Israel goes back to the 67 border and there's some kind of attack and Israel can be cut in half. I don't like cliches. I make it very simple for people. I say, if God forbid Israel ever gets forced to go back to the 1967 border and Israel is cut in half, then Israel isn't really cut in half. What that means is that an Arab or Muslim army has reached the Mediterranean. And if you do any kind of simplistic analysis, you realize that it's not just Israel being cut in two for any distance. It's that the Muslim Arab army will occupy about 200 to 300,000 Israeli civilians.
Wow.
So it will not be game start, it will be game over.
So to give up the land...
If you give up the land, you are on a knife edge to being totally annihilated. And in fact, no less a personage than Henry Kissinger said about a week and a half ago to 2 weeks ago.
He's still alive, Henry Kissinger?
Thank God, knock on wood, he's looking healthy. And I don't ascribe to all of his views, but I only wish he served his country and he served it in exemplary fashion. But the key point is, Henry Kissinger said that he does not believe Israel will be there in 10 years.
Wow.
This is Henry Kissinger.
Wow.
Now, why is he saying that? He's saying that because he is looking at everything that is going on in the past 4 years of what Obama has been doing. And he basically is saying something rather dramatic that people have to hear. That we are on a trajectory that there will be no Israel at all.
The policies, the beliefs, the Weltanschauung, the worldview of Obama has resulted in this Arab Spring craziness, really, which is a Jewish nightmare, Jewish winter.
Not a Jewish winter. It's a Western winter.
It's a Western winter. Good point.
It's a Western winter here.
We have a caller. Somebody wants to ask you something, Mark. Is the caller Mark also?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you.
Quite interesting map you had there on the. And that's fabulous work, by the way.
Thank you very much.
My hat's off to you.
And by the way, let me make a little commercial here. The commercial here is I can send you 100 of these postcards for free. Matter of fact,
really?
and yes, anybody, and this is where I really wanted to jump in with the 30 days and the 30 pills.
Yes.
In that I have these postcards, and if you get in touch with Tom or you can get in touch directly with me, I will pop 150, whatever you feel is your number, in the mail to you. You'll get them, and you can hand them out to people. And you can explain to people.
They're beautiful cards. They're what, 8 inches by 5 inches or so?
8 by 5.
Both sides, full color, all kinds of description.
And they basically give a short and unsweet version of what exactly the 67 borders would mean to Israel. But I didn't mean to cut you off, sir. What's your question?
Well, part A is Obama just said last night that his foreign policy is absolutely fantastic, that he's got us out of Iraq, that we're getting out of Afghanistan, and Osama bin Laden's dead. He never mention anything about Israel, which I thought was quite, fascinating. And I want your opinion on that. And two is this drone strike is actually, I think, a little bit bigger than just a simple drone strike, because they were able to smuggle in, this high technology equipment into the Gaza Strip area. And what other equipment can they smuggle in there for launching more deadly weapons or more dirty bomb weapons or whatever? I think that's even a more of concern that those drones actually got in there, and I'd like your opinion on that.
Your question hits every single aspect of the fraud we are dealing with. Number one, we did not get out of Iraq. We ended, quote unquote, Iraq. We did not win Iraq. Who won Iraq? Iran won Iraq. Iran...
That's Tom Trento clapping for Mark's analysis.
Iran is in absolute de facto control of Iraq.
Yep.
In fact, today and for the past 10 months, you have had jets flying over Iraqi territory. If you notice, he does not say we won Iraq. He says we ended Iraq. There is a huge difference between ending a war and winning a war. In fact, we lost the war. We basically have had a Vietnam without the Hueys evacuating our people out of Iraq, and that might very well be coming down the pike. The key is that Iraq has, believe it or not, sent billions of sovereign Iraqi dollars to Syria. Full knowledge of everybody. Where we had blood, sweat, and tears, and God only knows how many limbs blown off by Iranian IEDs. Why? To give Iraq to Iran? This is exactly what has happened. The al-Maliki is an Iranian puppet. Nothing more, nothing less. He does not go to the bathroom without Ahmadinejad's approval. So, number one, the Iraqi bomb has yet to be exploded for the full horrific catastrophe of what it is. He is doing the same exact ending in Afghanistan. What are we doing there? He's given a time of when we're leaving. We have our soldiers being blown up by Afghani quote-unquote trainees. How is this winning? We haven't won. We're losing. And who are we losing to? Again, Iran. Iran has been sending... Oh, and by the way, this is a key point on the... Every GI who's listening to this, or a veteran, I will send him the story.
Or her.
Yes. Excuse me when I say him,
yes,
okay?
Yes.
This is the key story in this entire debate that has gone totally unknown. Recently, with this Syrian uprising, the revolution, the Syrian ambassador to Iraq defected to the West. And what did he say? He said that Iran and Syria were the ones who were feeding all of the IEDs into Western Iraq. That was Iran and Syria, blowing up thousands of precious American lives.
That's an act of war, by the way.
That is an act of war.
And George Bush was partially responsible for that.
He was absolutely partially responsible for not dealing with the root cause of the evil.
And his problem was a misunderstanding of some elements and some bad guidance. Conversely, Obama's problem was by design. He wanted to create a situation where we'd get out of there. He had an opportunity at one point to negotiate with al-Maliki to keep 15,000, 20,000 people in our billion-dollar facility and all of that.
Which would have inhibited the Iranian takeover. But
completely. Now, let's do this. This is the bottom of the hour. It's Tom Trento on Trento Vision with Mark Langfan. We're on WNN 1470, broadcasting out of beautiful Boca Raton. What's the temperature there? 77 degrees on a clear day, but it's supposed to rain. And we're taking calls today, 888-565-1470. What we're doing today, folks, for you just joining us, the listeners and the viewers, Mark Langfan is here. He's an attorney by day and Superman on maps by night. He makes these phenomenal maps, but they're not just maps. They're
explanation tools.
They're explanation tools. They're used by people in the intelligence community, by the military, and they explain the topography, the geography, the strategic positioning of the situation in Israel. That's on the eastern side of the Mediterranean. But then you also have an analysis on the western side. I want to get into that because Mark has a theory that's fascinating, that if Israel falls as a domino, then there's the next domino is going to fall on the next, and you're going to be paying not what California's paying for gas, $6, but how about $16 a gallon for gas? Mark, we're going to have you back. We got about 15 minutes or so, but bring in the western part of the Mediterranean and your view of this domino theory you have. If Israel falls as a nation, what happens?
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to thank that other caller, and if he ever, I'll just finish the answer. But jumping over to what is really the guts of the entire debate, what happened was I built my map and started schlepping it and showing people all over. And I didn't go as AIPAC. I didn't go as a Jewish organization. Just went as me. And so people felt very comfortable, and they started asking me questions. And I'd show them, my Katusha rocket piece, which is if the Palestinians get the West Bank, they'll be able to fire Katushas into Tel Aviv like people would be able to if you gave Al-Qaeda Brooklyn. Al-Qaeda in Brooklyn would be sending Katushas into Manhattan. Okay, and that sort of makes the full circle on the original analogy of Kansas or North Dakota
right.
as opposed to Manhattan.
Right.
Okay. So I
populated areas
populated
versus
areas where a mortar would be devastating as opposed to just annoying. Okay. So the key point here is I'd be in these offices, and they'd be looking at me, and they'd say, "Well, okay. Now I understand why the West Bank is important for Israel's security. I get that now. Thank you. But I've got a problem. Why is Israel important to America's security? Why is it important to my district?" And these were questions asked of me of friends of Israel, not, enemies of Israel. And so what I did in response to those specific questions was I made a very simple map of the Middle East, which you want to pull that
sure,
one up.
Yeah.
We'll do Eastern Theater first?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do Eastern Theater first. I made a simple map. And
I'm walking away from my microphone here. I'll be right back.
And so I get to the nub of it, because I'm a businessman. I'm not doing this for money. I'm there to explain this thing, and to get in and to get out. So I say, okay, what you're really saying is you're not talking about an Israel with or without the West Bank. You're just talking about...
Hold it, right?
Yeah, I got it. You're talking about Israel, period. And they'd say to me, yep, that's
Excuse me, Mark, which one do you want him in on first?
This graphic first.
All right, now for the radio people,
so what I've done...
Tell them what they see there, Mark.
So what I've done is it's not really Mark Langfan's map. It's you just go on the internet and Google Middle East map, and you'll see where the countries surrounding Israel are, and what countries are surrounding Israel. And all I did was I took that simple map and I put it on a graphic. And then I asked the simple question, because what these congressmen and senators would say to me is, wait a second, I've got people coming into my office saying Israel's the cause of high gas prices, is the cause of instability in the Middle East. In fact, that has been one of the biggest sing-songs of President Obama and his administration, is that Israel and the Palestinian conflict are the core driver of instability in the Middle East. And I would just put the countries around Israel and Israel in the middle. And I ask a simple question. God forbid, and just to give the radio listeners a vision, north of Israel is Lebanon / Hezbollah. Then you've got Syria to the northeast. You've got Jordan. You, believe it or not, got Saudi Arabia right tucked in under Jordan. And then you've got Egypt to the west. And so I'd ask a simple question. I'd say, okay, what you're saying to me is that Israel's not a strategic asset and is the cause of instability. So therefore, if you're looking at it in the cold, hard light of the morning, Israel's not of value to the United States. And they say exactly that. So I said, okay, let's run through that one. God forbid, if Israel were to be destroyed, let's just look at the map and ask a simple homeboy question. What would happen to this area? Well, right now, everybody should know, Lebanon is not an independent country of Lebanon. It's actually occupied in fair degree by Hezbollah, which is a proxy of Iran. So if Israel were to be destroyed, and for simplicity's sake, I keep Jordan out of the war. Okay, and I just say, okay, if Israel were to be destroyed, what would happen? Well, the only thing that would happen is that Egypt would get a little bit bigger, and Syria would get Syria/Lebanon/ Hezbollah would get a little bit bigger. That's it. Now, would there be an independent Palestinian state created? Well, is there an independent Lebanon now? There isn't an independent Lebanon now. In fact, the new president of Egypt has said he wants Jerusalem as the capital of Egypt. That's not sounding like he's creating an independent Palestinian state.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
Maybe I don't understand Arabic, but that does not mean that it's an independent Palestinian state. So at the end of the day, forgetting the fact how many people you have murdered, killed, whatever, the only thing that would happen is you'd get a little bit of a bigger Syria and a little bit of a bigger Egypt. I've been doing this 22 years. No one has ever said that that is anything different than what would happen.
No, I think that's a very good analysis.
It's a simple point.
We got about 9 minutes.
Okay, second point. Jordan is the second domino.
And we really, I would love to go through this in detail, detail.
I'll go through. I'll do the elevator talk
this is fascinating stuff.
So Jordan is practically not there now. So you got the second domino is Jordan. That's 22 years. That's all I've said, because this is what pops out. You then have Egypt, that has 80 million people, the strongest conventional army, control of the Suez Canal, all of a sudden having a land contiguous border on Saudi Arabia. Now, do you see gas prices coming down? Do you see stability in the Middle East? You are seeing the caliphate, which will threaten the existence of this world. And there will be nothing to stop it. So in fact, Israel is not the cause of instability, it is the anchor of stability in the Middle East. But now let's go to the real honeypot. That was for 22 years. And I always say to them, listen, man, if you don't believe me, call the CIA. And ask them if they disagree with that analysis. So this is the next one.
We should try doing that. Let's get the CIA on the phone.
Yeah. Okay, so now I have a new entrant. So that is, and by the way, all these graphics are on my website in beautiful color graphics that you're seeing now. All you have to do is call me. I'll send you a bunch of my flyers for free. Okay, everything's for free. Please be judicious about it.
How can they reach you, Mark?
They can reach me. First of all, they can go on my website and all my contact information is there. But they can call my office and you can air my number. It's 212-832-0200. And you could pop that up on your show. But let's get to the real.
Hang on one second, Mark. For the listeners you follow, I think they're tracking this very easily. For the viewers, we got a pretty good signal on the internet, but I'm monitoring it. It just went black. Whenever that happens, who knows what causes that stuff? Just refresh your page, and then just hit the button to play again, and everything comes right back up. So the picture's there. We're looking at it very clearly, Mark, the Western Mediterranean.
So now, what I just described to you is my Eastern Theater graphic. But now, 2 years ago, I created a new graphic. I was being a little bit prejudiced. I was only looking at the East. Now, I've expanded my horizons, and I have an Eastern Theater. And my thesis is that Israel is not just the cause of stability in the Middle East. Israel is the southeastern flank of NATO.
Oh, wow.
Now, how do I get to the southeastern flank of NATO? Again, I don't do anything fancy. I just put a simple map of the Eastern Mediterranean right where it is. And the thing that pops out is 3 numbers. Turkey has got 75 million Muslims. Egypt, 80 million Muslims. And on the left here, you'll see little Cyprus. That's in the middle. And Cyprus has got 800,000 Christians. Now I'm going to repeat those numbers because they're key. 75 million Muslims in Egypt, in Turkey, 80 million Muslims to the south in Egypt, and only 800,000, which is less than 1 million Christians on Cyprus in the middle. And there's all of this oil and gas between Cyprus and Israel.
Ugh.
Okay? And the only reason why Cyprus is basically able to exist now under my theory, is that God forbid if Israel were destroyed, what would be there to protect this 800,000 or less than 1 million Christians on Cyprus? Cyprus is not a NATO country.
Who's controlling Cyprus?
Cyprus was actually invaded by Turkey in 1974.
It was under the Greeks?
It was under the Greeks.
Okay.
There was the short and the unsweet is that Turkey invaded Cyprus. And so right now you've got 800,000 Christians in South Cyprus, and you've got Turkey illegally occupying northern Cyprus. In fact, they're not being let into the EU because they're illegally occupying Cyprus, okay, from that invasion. So the key point is, how long will those 800,000 Christians on Cyprus exist? And I go through the same analysis. I say, okay, if you've got Katyushas in the West Bank, by the way, in addition to explosives, those little ball bearings, Katyushas also carry chemical weapons, GB and VX nerve agents. And I'm not going to go over the difference.
It's all bad stuff.
It's all
bad juju.
It's from bad to super bad.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, so I just say you've got all these different axes of attack on Israel, and let's just say Israel's not there anymore. How is the West going to protect Cyprus? How can they? Greece is bankrupt as it is. When I'm in my briefings, I ask a simple question. I say, if God forbid Cyprus is destroyed, what you then have is the entire Eastern Mediterranean metastasizing into this huge caliphate that is going to suck all that oil and gas that's in between Cyprus and Israel to build weapons and so on and so forth.
Let me add this to the listeners and viewers, Mark. The Islamic worldview, particularly the jihadi mindset, believes that Allah has given them these gas and oil reserves to spread Islam, to use that money to spread Islam around the world. That's why they're so upset with the Saudis, who are gold-plating Mercedes-Benzes with all this money. And the intelligence analysis that Mark is doing right now simply says, if the jihadis, and now the jihadis are the Muslim Brotherhood, basically, and Turkey is moving in that direction, if they see they can strike with Israel out of the way in a weak America and control the world's oil and gas reserves, they control the world, and then they can spread Islam as easily as they want to. That's the end game that's being played out here. But sadly, our elected officials don't understand all of that.
But the question I ask is, God, and I can't pull up the last frame here, but it's on my website. If the Eastern Mediterranean goes, the next step is Greece. And Greece is a NATO country.
Yeah.
So I ask a simple question. I say, listen, you think $3 billion is a lot to pay for Israel? Okay, if Israel's not there, how much are you going to have to put in the U.S. defense budget in years 2, 3, 4, and 5 to cost and to fund the defense of Greece? Because Greece doesn't have a pot to piss in. They've got no ability to defend themselves. So the only country that could defend Greece would be the United States. So what would the budget item look like, or how many precious men are we going to have to send to defend Greece? It's incalculable if Greece is even defensible. So
well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So my point here is, yes, the jihadis in Iran call Israel the small Satan and the U.S. the big Satan. I say something different. I say Israel is the tip of Western civilization's spear. And if, God forbid, is the tip of our spear was broken, we are going to be having a caliphate militarily attack Western interests like nothing we have ever seen.
This
beyond imagination.
It's a frightening scenario you're developing, Mark, and it's kind of counterintuitive. You're going, if Israel isn't there, then that would bring in world peace. Even Jewish people in America believe that. You know, if Israel wasn't there, that domino would lead to other dominoes, and America would say to the European Union, to Europe, go help Greece. We can't. You know, we don't have any money, and we don't have the will to fight anymore. So we would have to defend it for our own self-interest on oil and gasoline. But we have 6 million, 7 million highly competent Westerners there doing the job
exactly
with great hardware, great fighting power, great capabilities. Spirit. And we're screwing them left and right with this administration.
That is what this administration is doing.
Unbelievable. I got Roger. Are you there? One quick question for Mark. Then we're going to wrap it up. You still there, Roger?
Sure am. Can you hear me?
Yes. A quick question for Mark, and then we'll have him answer it. What is your question?
Okay, Mark. Thank you and bless you for your work. Okay. With your
thank you, Roger.
We have 30 days left before this election in the United States. Okay. What are your views on Israel hitting Iran either before or after the election, and whether Obama wins or loses? If you can put those four views together, or those parameters together.
I do not see...
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. I can't really go into, because time is precious here, I can't really go into in great detail, but my personal belief is in the next horizon of 30 days, Israel will not take any kind of unilateral action against Iran. So it really leaves the field on that one open and not really one way or the other. The real issue is Obama and his policies that have brought this country to its knees financially and strategically. We are in an absolute catastrophic state in the strategic world. To quote Henry Kissinger, we are weak. Okay, that's with a V. We're weak. Yeah. Okay, everyone sees us as withdrawing, and we are. Everyone sees that we're giving over the field to the Iranians. The Saudis see this clear as day, that we basically have ceded Iraq to Iran. So the only thing that is going to win this tide is if people who are listening go out, visit my website, and not just take those vitamin pills.
Yeah.
They have to every day say, you know something, I'm going to go. I'm going to print out a regular map, forgetting my maps, which you can print out, by the way. I'm just going to print out a regular map, and I'm going to show people who are my friends where Israel is, and show them how strategically important Israel is, and how it is absolutely imperative that Barack Obama be voted out of office. There cannot be any greater security of the United States than a Romney presidency, compared and contrasted with President Obama. So we just have to do every single thing we can to go to a voter and explain it. And you'd be surprised how just bringing, I mean, all I've done, believe it or not, is just sort of print out a map. I've added a couple of little bells and whistles and doodads here.
And rockets and trucks, all these things. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, all I did was just print out a map and show people. And it is shocking how little people actually understand. And what you have to be is you have to be an ambassador for the United States. This is not, the debate on Israel has been couched as somehow a Jewish issue. This is not a Jewish issue. This is a core United States security issue that the enemies of the United States have been successful in somehow massaging this into, or morphing it into something that it's not. It's not about Judaism. It's not about the Holocaust. It's not about a debt from the whole. It has nothing to do with the Holocaust. This has to do with a future Holocaust of America that will be in the crosshairs of the caliphate that Obama has begun the creation of.
Enabled.
Enabled.
And on that note, Mark, that ominous note, we're going to have to wind it up. I want to thank you very much. Mark Langfan, marklangfan.com. Go to his website. Send him a note. He'll send you various flyers, all of that. Great literature to distribute, to use in teaching. We want to have you back next time you're in town for sure.
We'll
go through this
back.
Because I know this stuff fairly well, and his maps have helped me tremendously, folks. Bottom line, as Mark is saying, as Tom Trento is saying, as our team is saying, we got 30 days. Look at that bottle of pills go dwindling down. Let's jump in 2 hours a day, 2 hours a week, whatever you can do. Give us a call. We'll help you out. We've got to win in 30 days, ladies and gentlemen, to save America, Israel, and Western civilization. Tom Trento, Mark Langfan.
Thank you, Tom.
Saying goodbye, signing off. See you tomorrow from Melbourne, Florida. We'll be broadcasting
Bless
from Melbourne,
everybody who
Florida.
listened.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Your host, Tom Trento, is an activist street fighter with earned degrees in law enforcement, theology, and philosophy. To reach Tom, call 561-319-5533, 561-319-5533, or email him at tom@trentovision.com. Tune in again weekdays at 2 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
I wanted to be in the military since I was a kid.
I served in the United States Air Force.